Did you know that in some places around the world, it's illegal to chew gum or even wear mismatched socks? Intriguing, isn't it? Our planet is teeming with fascinating and at times utterly bewildering laws. Some of these might leave you scratching your head wondering what led to their creation. Is it culture, history, or simply an unusual incident that sparked these curious legalities? From the bustling city-state of Singapore to the secluded corners of North Korea, every country has its own unique set of laws, some of which might seem strange to outsiders. But remember, one man's meat is another man's poison. What might seem odd to us might be just part of daily life for someone else. The world of laws is as diverse as the world itself. So, if you're ready for a fascinating odyssey through the labyrinth of global legalities, you're in the right place. So buckle up as we embark on this legal roller coaster ride, starting with number 10. Imagine a city so clean that even a piece of gum could land you in trouble. Now that's not a hypothetical scenario. It's a reality in the bustling metropolis of Singapore. Now you might be asking, why would a city ban chewing gum? Well, it's all about cleanliness and maintenance. In the early 1990s, Singapore faced a major issue with gum litter. Discarded gum was defacing public spaces, sticking to the streets, and worst of all, jamming the doors of their newly minted metro system. The solution? A sweeping ban on chewing gum. And the law is no joke. If you're caught selling, importing, or even chewing gum, you could face a hefty fine. The only exception? Therapeutic, dental, or nicotine gum. But even then, you'll need a medical prescription. It's a fascinating example of how one city took drastic measures for cleanliness. So, if you're planning to visit Singapore, better leave your chewing gum at home. Ever put on mismatched socks in a hurry? Well, you might want to think twice in North Korea. Yes, you heard it right. The Hermit Kingdom is known for its peculiar laws and regulations, and one of them is a law forbidding the wearing of mismatched socks. The root of this law is believed to lie in the deeply ingrained societal norms of uniformity and conformity. North Korea's government places a high emphasis on collective identity, and something as seemingly trivial as mismatched socks could be seen as a breach of this uniformity. The law also serves as a stark reminder of the stringent control the government exerts over personal freedoms and individual expression. It's a subtle yet poignant reflection of a society where even the smallest details of personal attire are under surveillance. So the next time you're packing your suitcase for a trip to North Korea, be sure to double-check those socks. So remember, when packing for North Korea, matching socks are a must. In the UK, you better not die while visiting the Houses of Parliament. Now this may sound like a grim joke, but it's actually a part of the British law. This peculiar rule has its roots in the mid-19th century. Here's why. The Houses of Parliament are considered a royal palace. Traditionally, anyone who dies in a royal palace is entitled to a state funeral. As you can imagine, state funerals are grand affairs, and they don't come cheap. So, to avoid the potential cost and ceremony, the law was put in place to discourage, well, dying in the Houses of Parliament. It's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? A law you can only break by doing something that's entirely out of your control, but it's one of the many quirky laws that make the UK and its history so fascinating. So stay alive and well while touring the UK's Houses of Parliament. Are you a fan of whistling? Well, you might want to hold your tunes in Petrolia, Canada. This quaint town, nestled in the heart of Ontario, has a peculiar law that might raise an eyebrow or two. You see, in Petrolia, whistling is not just frowned upon, it's downright illegal. Yes, you heard it right. Whistling, that innocuous pastime of many a bored individual, is strictly prohibited. But why such an odd law, you ask? The answer lies in Petrolia's history. In the oil boom days of the late 19th century, whistling was used as a coded language among oil workers. To avoid any confusion and potential accidents, the town made whistling illegal, and the law still stands today. While it's not strictly enforced, locals take pride in this quirky piece of their heritage. So, if you ever find yourself in Petrolia, remember, whistle not, lest you want to be the talk of the town. So, keep your whistling to a minimum when visiting Petrolia. Ever had a bad day and just couldn't help but frown? Well, in Milan, Italy, you better put on a happy face, it's true. In this fashion-forward city, it's against the law to frown. This strange law has been on the books since the 17th century. Its origin is rooted in the idea of promoting positivity and good vibes. The city officials believed that seeing a frowning face could potentially bring down the spirits of fellow citizens. And so, in order to maintain a cheerful atmosphere, this law was put into place. Now, you might be wondering, are people in Milan perpetually happy? Well, not exactly. The law does make an exception for funerals and hospital visits. But aside from these situations, you're expected to keep a smile on your face. So, when you're in Milan, remember to take a leaf out of the local's book. So, keep your spirits high and your frown lines away in Milan. Ever wondered why the chicken crossed the road? In Quitman, Georgia, it better not. Now you may be chuckling, but this is no joke. The city has a law in place that makes it illegal for chickens to cross the road. Yes, you heard it right. Chickens are law-abiding citizens in Quitman. This peculiar law hatched back in the days when Quitman was a small farming community. Chickens were often found roaming freely, and to avoid accidents or potential roadkill situations, this law was set into motion. It was intended to encourage responsible pet ownership and ensure the safety of both the chickens and the residents of Quitman. Today the law stands as a quirky reminder of the city's agricultural roots. It's one of those oddities that make Quitman uniquely charming. So if you ever find yourself in this part of Georgia, remember, keep your chickens in check in Quitman, Georgia. Feel like dancing? In Iran, you might want to suppress that urge. We're all familiar with the joy that comes from dancing, whether it's in a club, at a wedding, or even in our own living rooms. But in Iran, the rules are a bit different. The law in this Middle Eastern country prohibits dancing in public. Yes, you heard that right. No twirling, no shaking, no foot tapping in the open for all to see. This law has deep roots in the cultural and religious fabric of Iran. The country is predominantly Muslim, and its legal system is largely based on Sharia law, a religious code derived from the Quran. In this context, public dancing is viewed as a form of expressing intimacy, something that is reserved for private spaces and not for the public eye. It's worth noting that this doesn't mean Iranians don't dance or appreciate the art of dance. Quite the contrary. Traditional Persian dance, with its graceful movements and expressive gestures, is a key part of Iranian culture. However, it is typically performed in private gatherings and not in the public sphere. This law might seem unusual, especially to those from cultures where dancing is a common and celebrated form of public expression, but it's important to remember that laws often reflect the values and norms of the societies they govern. In Iran, modesty and privacy are highly valued, especially when it comes to expressions of joy or intimacy. Now, if you're planning a visit to Iran, this doesn't mean you can't enjoy the rhythm of Persian music or the grace of traditional dances. It simply means you should do so in private settings, respecting the local customs and laws. In short, while in Iran, you may want to save your dance moves for private gatherings and indoor spaces. After all, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Or in this case, when in Iran, do as the Iranians do. So keep your dance moves private when visiting Iran. Fancy a romantic goodbye kiss on a train platform in France? Think again. Yes, you heard it right. One of France's more peculiar laws is an old decree from 1910 that bans couples from kissing on train platforms. Now you might be wondering why such a law exists. This law was implemented in response to the excessive delays caused by couples saying extended goodbyes on train platforms, which often resulted in trains not departing on time. A romantic gesture indeed, but not quite practical for the efficient running of a railway system. This law, although not strictly enforced today, still technically exists in the French rulebooks. In the land of love, this might seem a bit paradoxical. But remember, efficiency and punctuality are of paramount importance in France's railway system. So, save your kisses for elsewhere when in France. Got a bad habit of spitting? In Barcelona, Spain? You better swallow it. Now let's delve into the details of this intriguing law. In this vibrant city, known for its art, culture, and football, there exists a law that prohibits the act of spitting in public. Yes, you heard it right. Spitting on the streets of Barcelona can land you in a sticky situation, quite literally. This law was instituted with the prime objective of maintaining cleanliness and promoting public hygiene. The city's authorities believe that spitting, in addition to being unsightly and unhygienic, can also aid in the spread of diseases. And in a city that prides itself on its pristine streets and public spaces, this law thus holds significant importance. So, when you're out and about exploring the enchanting streets of Barcelona, make sure you're not leaving behind any unwanted traces of your saliva. So, keep your saliva to yourself when in Barcelona. Planning a road trip on Germany's Autobahn? Make sure your tank is full. Counting in at number 1 on our list of strange laws from around the world is Germany's law against running out of gas on the Autobahn. Yes, you heard it right. In Germany, it's illegal to run out of gas on the Autobahn, the country's high-speed highway. Why, you might ask? Well, it all comes down to safety. The Autobahn is known for its lack of speed limits in certain areas, and a stalled vehicle can pose a significant risk to other drivers moving at high speeds. To ensure the smooth flow of traffic and the safety of everyone on the road, Germany decided to make it a legal requirement for drivers to keep their tanks filled. If you're caught with an empty tank, you could be fined, so keep your tank full and your speed steady in Germany's Autobahn. It's the law.